Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so just wanted to step in and say hello to everybody, see how you doing. I've been asleep all morning because, of course, yesterday, trade deadline day, had me up from 3:30 a.m. all the way to like 10:30 at night. So I was definitely done for, and my body clock needed a reset. But I got that. Um, Thank you guys for checking out the Laker video last night. I barely remember making it. That's how tired I was. I really was starting to find myself dozing off as I was talking. I was like, you know what? As soon as I hang up this and click off, that's going to be it. I'm going to sleep. And that's exactly what I did. So, yeah, man, I do want to reflect on that game a little bit and just say I thought the team played very well. I thought, as I said in the video, we were removed from the game by the officials and the Bucks in the third quarter because the Bucks were doing things that would bait the officials, and the officials were doing things that, just kind of leaned into that bait. Even though everybody sees and does this for a living 82 times a year, so guys are going to bait you into certain fouls. When a guy like Grayson Allen runs into Anthony Davis and falls to the floor, that he's not actually being pushed by Anthony Davis, but is doing what is needed to get the foul drawn. So my thing is, when are we going to start acknowledging that we see these things every day? When are we going to start punishing the players for conning the game rather than continuing to allow them to do so and have it be the determinant factor of what happens in these games? Because that's what I saw. Anthony Davis was the only star on the floor for the Lakers. We were down basically half of our team because of the trades. And we could not play defense because of how the game was being officiated. We could defend the best player because every time we put somebody on him, it was a call. So there was really nothing to break down, but it did help us remove ourselves as a team from what it was in regards to holding ourselves accountable for what we need to do tendencies wise, because a lot of that stuff just did not allow for us to do that. We don't know who we are as a team right now. So I wasn't really looking for us to, engage in 3-point discipline, even though they actually did, probably a little too much. They probably should have shot more threes given the percentage that they were able to hit. But nobody's thinking about that kind of stuff. We got 9 players and they're all running around trying to guard people that they probably should not be forced to on most nights, doing a great job. I thought Dennis Schroeder, as I had predicted in the pregame video, was going to step forward and take a lot of shots and do some good things. Well, he really exceeded my expectations even when I said that, with the double-digit assists and big-time points. So clearly he was the guy who got the game ball on the losing side. But when Giannis drops 38 points, and then, it's one of those situations where he's just helping them mask their mistakes. They're jacking up 3-point shots, barely hitting any of them. And he's in a position to just continue to be his natural self, which is a little too much for us, especially when Anthony Davis is not himself. And that's what I saw. Anthony Davis was not himself, and he hasn't been for the last couple of days. Whatever, he said that he was unhappy about losing. I just think Anthony Davis is probably going through something personal. I really believe that. I know a lot of people think that he's probably hating on Bron, but I ain't seen no remnants of him hating on Bron in 3 years' time. I ain't seen no remnants of that. And the only thing that I could think of was that little scenario speculation I said was maybe he thought he was getting traded, or was found out he was getting traded, and was pissed at Bron for signing off on it. But that quickly did not manifest. That's just not true. So I don't think it really had anything to do with nothing America is aware of. I really don't. This is one of them situations where somebody is going through something personal. It ain't none of our business. And it's probably best for us to leave it alone. I think that. So hopefully however it's going, he can get right and get back on track, get his energy right, and get ready for the second half of the season. Because a lot of the things that would otherwise make us unhappy about this team is gone. It's gone. That's what it really comes down to. The things that irritated everybody about this squad was gone. I said it myself. I was listening to DTLF. He said the same thing. It's like Laker fans over the last year and a half, playing with, having Russell Westbrook on the team, having small ball part of our lineup at the same time, having Darvin Ham and Vogel as coaches, I come to realize that I had conditioned myself for a certain level of strain that came with my team. Every game, there were certain things that are supposed to antagonize me naturally because of how our team is constructed each and every night. So when those things don't manifest, when you're waiting for Russell to check in and it don't happen, you're waiting for 3-guard lineups and it don't happen, you're looking around and you're seeing your guys able to pull a board off the rim, contesting next to somebody else because they're tall enough to defend them. Like these things, I'm like, this is a clean basketball game. That's what came to mind. It was like, this is a clean basketball game. I don't want to relate it to something that would make it not, but it's almost like you have some type of hindrance that you become used to for a very, very long time, and then you just healed of it. And it's like, that doesn't hurt. Like if you had something wrong with your shoulder, now that don't hurt anymore. It's like that. And even though you're not throwing the football, as far as Tom Brady would throw it, you still feel great because you have a range of motion that you never had. So it's like, that's what it felt like yesterday. Like, even though we didn't win, I was so pleased at that strain never actually being ruptured, so to speak. I'm like, okay, when is he going to check in? It's that kind of thing. Okay, where's Patrick at? Is Patrick going to come in? Okay, we're going to have some plays where we're just not going to be able to score, so we just got to live with that. Okay, when Dennis Schroeder's next to who? We got Lonnie next to him, there's Westbrook next to him. It's like, all right, so we're not going to be able to get rebounds in this possession. It's just understood we're not going to be able to shoot with this possession. Russell Westbrook, they're playing off of him. He's going to shoot the ball. That's going to be offensive rebound. Be prepared for it. Like, these are the type of things that come with being someone who follows the Lakers. And just come with it. You're like, all right, these disadvantages are natural because we've dealt with them for 2 years. We're a bad basketball team, and there are certain things that you're going to condition yourself to understand. In order to root for this basketball club, it's just going to be factual. Westbrook is just going to break shots. It's not about whether or not it's going in or not. If it goes in, you're surprised. It's like, oh, crap, he hit a three. Oh, he hit another one? Oh, okay. But at some point in time, if you leave him down there too long, something's going to go wrong. So you just condition yourself for it. And when he does it, you're not going crazy necessarily. It's just like more of the same. Every time he does it, it's just a little easier to deal with it. Every time things like this happen, every time we have a small 4-guard lineup on the floor, you get frustrated. But it's like, all right, well, you stop being angry and you start saying it's matter of fact. Just like I've been doing over the last month or so. It's just like, this is what I think the team's going to do. But this is what they're actually going to do. And because of it, we're going to lose. So be prepared. And it's like every night. Until last night, that wasn't the case. And it's like, okay, all right. And the thing that you start wondering, if you're me, is like, how does the team manage without the distractions? Like, how is it going to handle itself in situations where it needs to fire itself up? Because Russell Westbrook ain't manifest that energy for you. Because Patrick Beverley ain't going to be down there fighting for you. Is the way that he does. Because that's one of the things I can say about Patrick. He lobbied for things. When Bron's way wasn't filled, he was over there talking to the referees, second in his call. When AD had his head down, he's the one going over to pick him up. And I think one of the biggest reasons why we were able to manage the locker room was probably because Patrick Beverley made peace with Russell Westbrook early on, and then from there was somebody who could help us with Russell. And I think he may have. It looked like that from afar. He seemed like he was getting along with Russell more than most of them were. That's what I want to say, and I want to give them both kudos for that, because that wasn't the easiest thing in the world, and they ended up being teammates, and I think they'll have a rapport going forward that'll make their competition much easier to manage. They don't have to be hateful on the court no more. They can go back to being cool like they were initially when they first started their careers. From what I understood, they was homies. So this is a situation where, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I remember from a long time ago, it being said that they were friends before Russell Westbrook got hurt in that little situation or whatever. But they made all that go away for the betterment of the team, and I appreciated that. So it was good things that came with those guys. My thing was how they were used in a lot of cases, especially with Patrick. I just didn't think our coach was right for Patrick and how he leaned on Patrick. But I thought Patrick was an asset to our team a good portion of the time, especially when he wasn't thrown into situations that required him to be next to small people. So, it would be great if we would have had a better tenure with those guys. Russell Westbrook's obviously one of the greatest players of all time. I don't think anybody even want to hesitate in saying that, but just winning was not one of the attributes that he had, that he could bring to the table and provide you consistently. And so when I think about the players that we're bringing in, I don't pretend to know of these guys like Devon Reed or, Malik Beasley. I'm not as familiar. Obviously, I know of Malik Beasley as a shooter, but he's been on teams I don't follow like that, But what I can say is the collective of these 5 players that are coming back versus the players that are going out, I honestly think can bring us an entirely new dynamic and set of things to consider. I don't know what they are, but it ain't going to be the same stuff that Dennis Schroeder, Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Nunn, Damian Jones, JTA, Thomas Bryant. You know what I mean? We let go of a lot of guys who did a lot of things, both good and bad, mostly not so good, honestly. So I'm very curious to see what these new pieces will be for the pieces that we have, how that's going to slot people differently on the roster, and certain things, as I said, that we know is to be matter of fact about the squad and certain players on the team. Now we have to reimagine them entirely, and this is what we're going to learn as Laker fans if we already know this. Some of us must know this because it's not that crazy of a thing to think about. But when you remove this much of your team, now it changes the roles, attributes, and responsibilities of everybody on the team that's been left over, still remaining. So now Dennis Schroeder, you don't have to worry about him being in small ball lineups at all. Now you'll see him step back into the old Dennis Schroeder that he was always supposed to be when he slotted next to people who are of natural position and size. He gets to be a regular point guard again and kind of have nights like he had last night. This is the situation Dennis Schroeder's supposed to be in, not a bunch of situations where he's surrounded by small people. None of those guys are supposed to be in that situation. They're all supposed to be point guards slotted next to people taller than 6'5". So you see what I'm saying? It's like you take away what it is that they are when you put them down there next to certain people. But when they're down there next to regular people, now we get to figure out who they are and what doesn't come with them when they are in those situations. You see what I'm saying? Lonnie Walker looked great last night. But I thought Lonnie Walker was put in his position for the first time in over a month and a half. Every time I see Lonnie Walker, he's playing small forward, power forward, next to Dennis Schroeder and Patrick Beverly. And Russell Westbrook. You know, I ain't going to say 9 out of the last 10 times, but a good portion of the last several times I've seen him on the floor was in those lineups. And he played poorly in those lineups. And he sat down and he had the injuries. So it's like, when you put somebody in a position to do what it is that they do properly, you don't have them playing out of position, we can reimagine who they are once again as players that they were scouted to be. Lonnie's going to be a scorer who can score upwards of 20 points a game if you give him enough shots and allow him to do his thing. You know, and so that's what I'm thinking. Like, when I look at Lonnie Walker, we got to reimagine his entire position because the Lonnie Walker that we saw in the first half of the season, a lot of times was in them bad lineups. You know, except for the first maybe month of the season where we had him in the starting lineup as a guard, shooting the ball for us. And in that situation, he was giving us 26, 25, doing all kinds of good stuff, giving us the bulk of our scoring, helping us through those games. So for me, I'm just saying, all right, that's one piece that I know we're going to have to reimagine in regards to how we view him. You know, Troy Brown's position is not going to change very much because I'm pretty sure we're still going to use him in the same stock of lineups. But do we need him to take the same amount of threes in those lineups? He doesn't have to be our designated stretch the floor guy at all, because now we'll have D'Angelo Russell and Bamba and, of course, Malik Beasley and these guys who can shoot the three. Also, Vando had a game where he hit 4 threes in this season. There was a game where he parked it from the corner and knocked down 4 of them. So we can put him in that little corner that we like to put players in, that top corner that we love to dribble around and just find somebody last minute. I think that shot can be something he can hit, just like I described it, sort of like Wenyen Gabriel. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have him out there parking it all day, but he's hit it more than enough to where the defense may not know he can hit it, but we can get it to him and he'll probably hit the shot. So that's how I look at Vando. We don't want him to think that he has to be a designated shooter, just like I said to you about Rui. We don't want those guys thinking that just because we needed shooting, they have to shoot. And so I like the acquisitions of the players that we got so that they can take that pressure off of these players. You know what I'm saying? Because that was my thing. It's like, so we're getting Rui Hachimura to be a three-point shooter? It's like, don't get it twisted. I have no problem with him hitting the shot. I just ain't picking him up for that. But if we bring him some regular players around him, he can hit that three. You know what I mean? It's one of those. So it's like, it's okay to bring players to you while you have a need. But as we did, keep building what it is that you need around those players so you don't have to lean on them for stuff that they're not best for being leaned on. So I just like what Rob did in that way. He was sound in understanding that we don't want to lean on those guys to be shooters. But we do want to lean on them for what it is that they do so we can reimagine other things around them and then bring stuff to them that'll take that responsibility away. So, well-constructed roster. Also, last night, you know, as I've mentioned Mo Bamba now, I did, in the midst of all that being sleepy and stuff, I literally did forget about Mo Bamba being quiet. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. And I understand that Mo Bamba got into a altercation a couple games ago that had him suspended for several games, and this is going to cost him some games. So we're not going to see him probably for another week, basically. I think he's going to be missing the next game because of the trade being the last trade or something like that. And then the suspension, I don't know how that works, but I think the suspension would start after that next game, which is Saturday. I don't know how that works. He's already in the suspension, but as it pertains to our team, I think the game that he's missing doesn't count or something like that. I don't know. It's weird because of how he was traded. So does that keep me from making the trade? Nah, based on needing to get Patrick Beverley out of here schematically, it doesn't keep me from making the trade. Plus, he's only going to miss 2 games? We know we're leading into the All-Star break, so you can just be comfortable knowing that he'll play the first couple games. He'll be back after the All-Star break, in my opinion. I'm pretty sure they'll try to squeeze him in sooner, but we only got 4 more games left before the All-Star break or something like that. I don't think it's too many more games left, so I don't think he's probably going to have too big of a role until the end of that time period. That's just my guess. That's my guess. But we do need centers, and we need his piece. That's the thing. So maybe I'm wrong about that, but I just don't think Mo Bamba is going to be the first guy we incorporate into this thing because we don't have that choice. But I'm happy Mo's here. I'm looking forward to him rekindling his career here, and I know what his numbers look like when he's given a starting opportunity, and I know that starting opportunity never manifested for him to have it long enough to be healthy in it as they continue to pile on those 7-footers all up and down the roster. So he just became obsolete by an organic nature of how they were building, and the minutes weren't there to show you the type of player that he is. So the numbers to study are the numbers that he had when he was able to hold that down. Kind of along the lines it was when last year when Wendell Carter went out before Banchero came in there. You saw a good stretch where Mo Bamba was able to do what he does. He hits threes, he blocks shots, he gets boards. Doesn't play the interior too much, not overly consistent, but that inconsistency comes from this not lasting very long. So there were, I would say, in Mo Bamba's career, I've seen him have 3 nice long stretches of fantasy relevance. That are, when I say fantasy, NBA fantasy, if you have him on your team, you were happy to have him for that time. 3 good stints, probably lasting about a good 3 weeks, where he was a double-double guy, block shots, hit threes, and you could keep him on your team as a high-level fantasy asset. But it's just the inconsistency of those minutes and the injuries that came during that span, that when he would come back from injury, it's like 7 centers on the team. They make a mid-season trade to get Vucevic out of there, and all of a sudden they bring in Wendell and all these different guys. They got Isaac coming back at that time, who also went out for 2 years. But, it's one of those situations where it's a lot of centers there, a lot of 7-footers that just made Orlando the worst place for Mo Bamba to showcase himself as a lottery talent, which I think he was drafted in the lottery several years back. So this is a player that I know can do some things. This is a player I know can help us. And this is an opportunity, like Rui Hachimura, where he's finally going to get the minutes that he's been looking for his entire career. He's going to get a chance to be himself, take the cuffs off of him, have a coach that wants to play him, and that's Darvin Ham. I don't know if coach will want to play him, but if he plays well, he'll be down there. So what I was looking at in regards to Mo Bamba was the Orlando Magic fan base. What was their overall sentiment in IG, on the IG when they were saying goodbye to Mo? And I say a good 80% of it was people who loved him for sentiment. Like people who said, yo, this is our guy. This is our kid. We miss his personality. We miss his energy. We miss his strength as a guy. We liked Mo Bamba. He was nice. He was a family-oriented Orlando Magic player. And their locker room's going to be missing something big with him gone. Not too much to talk about his play, but I think, like I said, it had to do with the numbers, the minutes, just not being there, and the other talent on the team just, making it impossible. But the fans were not happy that they did this, killing their front office. That was a good 20% of what I saw on IG on the post underneath Bamba was people upset at the front office for making a deal like this that would ultimately give up a lottery talent with that much length for second-round lottery assets. So, did we put any second-rounders in there? I think we did. I'm saying that, but I don't know what the framework of that deal was other than Patrick Beverley, Mo Bamba, and I thought it was like some second-rounders or something, but I honestly don't remember. But whatever the case may be, it would equal out to a couple second-rounders because that's what Patrick Beverley would ultimately be worth in this league right now. So, in my mind, I just feel like if I'm the Orlando Magic fans, I just feel like Mo Bamba probably should have been traded at a different price at a different time. That's really what it come down to. But I think they were running into a situation where they had to pay him now. I think he's going to be up for an extension or some type of opt-in or something that they didn't want to have no parts of, and probably just hadn't found any real trade partners that would be willing to pay for him at that price. That probably would make them happy. So this is one of those situations where they just made a mistake of not identifying that they didn't have the path to keep a player's value up and not getting rid of that player at that time. This is what I talk about, not allowing players to sit on the back of your bench and lose value. It's what I say about Wenyen Gabriel, it's what I say about Max Christie and a lot of players that need to develop. If you don't play them, when you identify you don't want them anymore, you try to move them, you're not going to get anything for them. You have to make the decision to trade them, and then from there, feature them. Even if they're not very good, get them to be their very best self to the best of your ability so that someone would desire them. So that's what the Orlando Magic weren't doing with Mo Bamba. They got this lottery pick that's really, really valuable, but then they let everybody step in front of him. They let everybody, have his minutes, and as a result, when it was time to get rid of him, when they were forced to get rid of him, they had to do it at a price that they were not happy with. So these are the type of decisions you make as an organization while you're focused on other things that matter. That's something that gets lost, and that's something that actually can cost you your championship. Because if you get him to his highest level and you trade him for what he's worth, you keep that value in-house, as it doesn't dissipate from you in this situation. So Orlando, they got all the value in the world, but there's going to be a sixth man or a seventh man, eighth man on the roster that's not going to be up to par. And this is exactly the exact reason why that is. So this is why I do what I do. This is why I talk the way I talk, because I see this stuff as easy as I see everything around this room. It's just how my brain works, and because of it, I understand that a lot of these GMs think they're doing the job the right way, but they're doing it in a way that still feeds into the con, as I like to call it. And the con is player X ain't go good no more, but because you know of his name and he's made a lot of money in this league and everybody else, the fans know who he is, you think that the price tag his representation puts on him is the price tag you should be paying for him when you try to acquire him. What you don't often realize is that you can get that same player's production somewhere else for a fraction of the cost if you just take a chance on a Devon Reed or someone you never heard of. As I say a million times, so if you're the Orlando Magic, this is a situation where you did not do that with a player that you drafted high. You didn't keep him in mind while everything else was coming your way, and so his value dissipates, etc., etc. So one man's trash, another man's treasure. We'll pick up the treasure and run with it and take his value and elevate it, and then probably either re-sign him or trade him for something else, So my expectations for Mo Bamba are good. They're good because I know this is a player who's going to be able to showcase himself here in ways that just were not possible in Orlando. He's going to be needed here to do the things that he naturally does well for the first time in his professional career. And he's going to be doing it in a situation where he's going to be asked to help people win, which is something he's never been a part of. So this is going to be a brand new situation, but we're going to have to understand that because he hasn't had a lot of playing time in his career, not a lot, enough to make him relevant, but not a lot to make him fully developed. This is what we're dealing with. That's exactly what you're dealing with. Mo Bamba is a project, but he's a high-level project who's already proven enough to make you feel good about starting him if you're going to start him. But he's still a project because he has not fully developed. He hasn't. And that is what one of the ladies in the comment section was saying. She was like, we gave up this player and we picked him up, but we gave up on him too soon like we do everybody else. That was her point of view. Like, every time we get somebody we're supposed to have, here we go letting them go. From a lifelong Magic fan. I'm like, sometimes it's just one of those situations where if you're a bad team, and you're getting all types of lottery talent left and right. Every year you're bad. Every year you're getting lottery talent. It becomes a situation where even though you're bad, you're inheriting great things. Even though you don't do things properly, every year you're getting something great. So at some point in time, the NBA has to acknowledge that they're giving the worst franchises their best young stuff. And in doing that, sometimes you're setting that stuff up on the wrong track just because of how ineptitude and failure go together. And a lot of times that's what you're seeing when teams are inept. The failure comes and then you're rewarding them for it. So it's like the system works because you see great talent go to new franchises and then turn it all the way around. It works. But it also fails in situations like this where the tweener guys fall into these teams where they're getting great talent every year, and then the tweener guys don't develop properly and then end up scrubs or bust because of it. So they got to figure something out. So these tweener dudes, if they don't fit on the teams that they're on, there should be some slip out of this situation clause in their contract that allows them to find situations that they are needed in. And so that would be a perfect way of doing it if they can make that make sense. Obviously, there's a lot going on with moving pieces, G League talent that also wants to move up and stuff like that would make that a little murky of a science. But at the end of the day, that's what they're going to have to figure out, how they can get the 16th pick in the draft to 30 pick in the draft guys to develop properly in these situations where they keep landing in these Orlandos, landing in these Sacramentos and Indianas, where they keep getting this first pick in the draft every single year, who's going to automatically step in front of them dudes. And they never find themselves in a situation like Mo Bamba, where he can get to a team that absolutely needs him and then turn him into exactly who he's supposed to be. So that's what I want to see the NBA figure out. There's too many teams that need certain players that are stuck in the back of these benches. So that's where my head goes every day. If you follow me, that's the running conversation. And I think Mo Bamba is a great example of where that has been the case. And so I think with him coming here, we found effectively a place that we could use him in, along with D'Lo. He was kind of in the same situation in Minnesota, keeping his head down, playing excellent, shooting, and doing the things that lead to him being his best self. That's what I saw. There's a bunch of highlights of D'Angelo Russell staying in his strength zones and hitting those shots comfortably in Minnesota. It was almost like he was just parking it, working, practicing while they were doing whatever it was, waiting for an opportunity to go somewhere he was really going to be needed. And so I think D'Angelo Russell has played it well as far as just keeping his head down and going to these little teams and, trying to find himself back to L.A. And I know that's what he's been doing. So hoping that he could get himself back to a big market like Brooklyn, like the Lakers, where he can show he's that dude. Because they put him up there with Steph Curry. He played well in that splash, with those Splash Brothers. He looked really good up there, but they just couldn't make sense in regards to his salary, so they wouldn't have been able to keep him. But, that was a piece that fit just fine in a shooter's rotation. So he's going to help you if for some reason you're deficient shooting the ball. So, for me, Vando was the main prize. But to be reminded of D'Lo's talent and what it is he's going to bring to the table shooting the ball, it's championship level stuff if he puts it all together. I'm telling you, if LeBron James and Anthony Davis are themselves, and he's doing that stuff that he's capable of doing, we're not going to be losing too much. We're not. I'm telling you. I have not forgotten ice in his veins, and I know that he's a guy who's going to break some of those old possessions where we see Russell Westbrook throw the ball off the side of the rim, possessions where we throw the ball off the side of somebody's foot or something like that in situations. D'Angelo Russell's going to turn those possessions into three-point shots. He's going to walk right in. And see, that's going to frustrate us sometimes, especially when it doesn't go in, because he does the same thing LeBron does, but it's one of his strengths. As off the dribble, pick up your dribble, shoot the ball. Dribble, pick it up, shoot the ball. That's one of his strengths. Nobody on our team has that as a strength, except for him. So maybe Bleezy has it as well. I don't know. We'll find out. But all them guys from our team, that's just something we didn't really want to see them do very often. Dennis does it sometimes. Brian does it all the time. It doesn't go in very much. Kendrick, he did it also. It didn't really work for us. Russell would do it all the time. Never doesn't fall very much. D'Angelo Russell has that in his bag. It's one of his very best, very, very best strips. And you're going to see him knock that off in the air. He gonna light that thing up on teams so often that they're going to get really frustrated with us while they're trying to defend all that AD and Bron does. We kick it out to D'Angelo Russell. He hits a 25-footer. You know what I mean? It's gonna get weird around here because now you can see with the presence of Beasley, the presence of Bamba, and all these different shooters, Anthony Davis is gonna have more space than he's ever had in his life. And if they double team him, it's danger zone for them. Bron James is gonna be able to slash and all that, and these good shooters are gonna be in position to score 5 and 6, 7 threes in a row. And that's why they wanted Zach LaVine. That's why they wanted Bradley Beal. This is exactly why I want D'Angelo Russell, because you're gonna see those possessions. You're gonna see. Well, we're going to be able to hit 3 threes in a row, 3 consecutive possessions because one of those or 2 of those guys kept staying hot while Bron was finding them, kept staying hot while Dennis was finding them. Like, these are things And I'm very much looking forward to seeing our possessions go entirely different. No more Russell Westbrook bumbling, fumbling plays. No more, ISO ball to players that cannot necessarily take the player they got in front of them off the dribble. Small ball, all that other stuff that just didn't do. And then some of the rotations with some of our guys that just couldn't play very well. And we know who they are. They're gone now. Ain't going to see none of those funny possessions no more. And so that's really what it's about. It's a breath of fresh air for our fan base, just knowing that for the rest of the season at the very least, there shouldn't be any reason why our team isn't good enough to defeat whoever's in front of it. Doesn't mean we're favored, but we are a full basketball team with the right amount of talent on the floor to help our superstars be their very best. And there shouldn't be no excuses for that to not be the case except for help. So that's all we really wanted. That's it. That's all LeBron should really want. You know what I mean? And if he and now Jeanie gets to sit back and say, okay, now you get to deliver your side. No delivered. I gave you your players. I got you a team. You got length. You got guys that can defend. You got guys that can shoot. You got wings. Now go out there and win us 18. You know what I mean? And don't let the field in its strength psych you into thinking you are not strong now because we've made those changes. So that's where I'm at, man. Clippers got to see us. Memphis got to see us. Denver got to see us. Phoenix got to see us. Dallas got to see us. All of them. Clippers, they have to see us. And that's what I was ultimately wanting to be able to say with my chest out. Because up until yesterday, I couldn't say that. BDL 44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.